I have two cylinders here. The first one I created was 16 segments, and I've deleted half of it, as you can see. The other one is 8 segments, and I've rotated it 90 degrees. And I have selected both of those under Edit Mesh, or excuse me, Mesh Combine. So these are combined, and I have then selected edges and double click on each of these. I'm holding my shift key down, double click on that edge. You can see both of those are selected. You can say Edit Mesh and Bridge, bring up the menu, and you want to make sure that your linear path is selected and 0. So when you bridge that, you can see that you get a clean bridge on that. Okay? But it's better, always better, to do this with as low polygon count as possible. Okay? Because the more verts you get in here to try to manage, the worse it gets. So to do these basic shape, get a basic shape, you always want to start with as low poly count as possible. Just go in and shape this arm up. Here are some tools up here for you to continue to modify this. This one will come in handy, insert edge loop, and you can place that in here. I'm going to go in here and select insert edge loops. So you'll be able to very quickly come in here. This is my elbow, so I want additional edge loops around that. I want additional edge loops around the shoulder, and I would highly recommend you go ahead and everything you put in, you position that before you add any more. Otherwise it just gets to be too much to manage. So you can go in and either grab the verts and begin to scale those and move those around, or like I do, I tend to grab just an area of verts and apply a lattice, which you can find in the deformation tools. I had to look for it. They've changed the location. So here it is in deformation tab. You select on lattice after choosing what you want to deform. Then you, under the attribute editor shape, you can go in here and, you know, the point of the lattice is to stay light, because you can deform things quicker, so and not have to manage a lot of verts. So the point is to keep it lighter than your actual mesh, so that you have a chance to do that. Once you have the mesh on there, you can right click, lattice point, and grab points, which will easily, oops, there we go, deform your mesh for you in much more general ways. So for instance, the shoulder, let's see if I go to front view, bring that up, you can much more easily get in here and deform that a little bit easier. You are going to need to shape up the shoulder if you're going to use this working method really quickly, otherwise, you know, it's just not going to serve you well. And yeah, so once you're done with the lattice, you can, of course, delete history. Okay, other tools that you can use to modify your mesh are split poly tool. I come in here and use that to get some better deformation in the pec area, something that you're going to need to do as you work. And of course back here is the shoulder blade. Give yourself a nice edge loop coming around here. Alright, and you'll want to get a hold of those verts, make sure those are welded. Alright, once you have those in place, you'll want to go ahead and select your verts, get rid of those triangles. So with my shift key down, select on the ones that you want to weld. Alright, to weld. Whew, finally. Alright. So then you can, once you have those welded and the triangle's gone, you can go ahead and move those into place a little bit easier. Alright, this isn't looking like a lot right now, but I think I've given you some basic tools to work with, and hopefully you can get a good start on your model. Triangle, triangle, all those will need to be welded and pulled into position. Making sure that your edge loops are remaining somewhat squared up. Alright, you can preview by clicking the 3 key on your keyboard, and that gives you a nice smooth on there so you can see how it's coming along. This is just for visual purposes. This does not fly in games. The smooth tool is just a visual thing when you're working, and it will also show you how it will subdivide as you increase that mesh in, say, ZBrush for a high resolution mesh. But for the purposes of game modeling, mesh smooth does not give you a good idea what's going to happen with that model. It will remain smoothed like this upon export, unless you apply, you know, your normal map that's generated from ZBrush with a high resolution map. So, alright, continue to work on your birds, get those squared away, and let me quickly show you, another tool that might serve you well. If you get rid of these faces, they're not going to help you at all. If you select on these edges, you can bridge those, edit mesh, bridge tool. You'll want smooth with a curve on this one with a couple of divisions, so that will give you, see that extra line in there is your curve, and it gives you a patch, or not a patch, I don't want to use that term. It will bridge your polygon surfaces so that you can begin to have something to work with there. So you can also select on that curve, oops, the line, okay, and you can select the CVs on that. Oops, got the wrong thing again. There we go. Oh, there we go. Alright, so I can get a hold of the spline there, or the curve, and you can get a hold of the CVs, and you can pull those together and shape that accordingly, like you want it. Okay. You can, once you have that, you can go ahead and delete history, and you can delete your curve after that. Oops, it's not going to work. Grab your object, delete history. Still don't have a key command for that, and now you can get rid of your curve. Alright, so then you have this surface to work with. You can, okay, the system is a little slow today, so you can grab these verts and go ahead and shape them accordingly. So you can begin to form the shape that you want in the this area. Character. I'm struggling with my keystrokes because I have been using nothing but Macs for the past 6-8 weeks. Alright, so once you get that in place, using my keystrokes like Macs. Let's go back to perspective. So you can begin to move these, continue to move these verts into place. And get ready for your addition of the leg. And for doing that, go ahead and create a cylinder, just like we did the arm. Bridge it, just as we did the arm. And there are other ways of bridging. Let's see, I'll just go ahead and throw that in real quick. Okay. Let's see, why don't we just give that 8 subdivisions. Oops. Doesn't work that way anymore. Alright, so we have our arm, or it's getting late, isn't it? Our leg. Get in there and delete those edges or those faces. Oops. Okay, now once you have this selected, you can do the same thing. I just want to show you something really quickly. Oops. First I need to join those two. So if I select that, and combine. Alright, then if I select the parameter edges, double click, shift key down, double click, say bridge again, then go back to linear path, and I'll just put an extra couple of divisions in here and bridge. You can see that it may twist a little bit. Well, that one came off pretty well, but you do have a twist option in here.